Ashwi, which is the question that you have been asked very often, just next to the question, what's your name? A little less often than that, but very often.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Exactly. And that's a question which every child is asked. And Kavya also was asked that question. Kavya was a girl about your age, and now she'll tell her story in her own words. My name is Kavya. I have a grandfather. He is very old. He has very few hair on his head. One day I asked him, how did you lose the hair on your head? He said, I don't know. He has lots of hair on the face and they're all white. One day I asked him, how did your hair turn white? He said, I don't know. One day I asked him, why did you lose hair from the head but not from the face? He said, I don't know. My grandfather was just as ignorant as me. When I asked my grandfather, may I have some money for candy? He always knows the answer. What do you think his answer would be? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why would he say yes?
Uh, because he loves her.
Because he loves her a lot, because he loves Kavya. But this grandfather is not like that. His answer to this question is always the same, and the answer is no. Candy is bad for teeth. And then he opens his mouth and shows me his teeth. He says, when I was 20, I had 32 teeth. Now I am 60, I still have 32 teeth. That's because I do not eat candy. If I ask him, have you counted your teeth? He says, no. No, his grandfather said, everybody says everybody has 32 teeth, so I must also be having 32 teeth. Do you think that's a good answer?
No, he could have counted it.
He could have,
Yes.
but he hadn't.
It was a smart answer.
It was a smart answer.
Yes.
So that way you think it's a good answer.
Yes.
It was a good answer. All the same, he at least gave some sort of an answer, although he had not counted his
Yes.
teeth.
Yeah.
Uh, well, actually, this is one of those questions where you can say, yes, it was a good answer, and you can also say, no, it was not a good answer. And both can be justified. Uh, as you said, it's a smart answer, and therefore it's a good answer. It's also a good answer because we can't verify everything that we learn in the world. Because what we know today is the result of thousands of people having discovered so many things, have learned so many things over thousands of years. So one person, no matter how hard he works or she works, can't learn all that even in a whole lifetime. And all you will end up doing is learning a little bit of what is already known. So we just trust the person who tells us, and there's so many things that. For example, if somebody tells you that the earth is round and you go around verifying it, there can be a way of verifying it. If you go all around the earth, you'll end up where you started from. So that will tell you it is round, isn't it? But then if we start verifying everything like that, then there'll be nothing else that we can do. So in a way, it's a good answer to say that, well, I accept many things because everybody says so.
Yes.
Not only I accept everything that is told me by way of knowledge or facts or whatever, but I also do many things which just because everybody else does them.
Yes.
Because that also is reflecting what people do, is reflects the wisdom of a long period of time. Yeah? People have found that a nice thing to do, a useful thing to do, a proper thing to do, or whatever. So it can be a good answer, but also a bad answer. Why? Because progress depends upon change. What is progress?
Um, how much you do stuff. Like,
Going further.
yes, going
Progress going
yeah,
further means tomorrow you should be better than what you are
better
today.
than
Tomorrow you should know more than you know today. So that is progress. Now,
yes.
knowing more, being different, being better involves what? Change.
Yeah.
Change. So unless we change things, we can't get any better, we can't make any progress, neither an individual nor a society.
Yes.
Right. So if we go on repeating everything that everybody has been doing for thousands of years and say just because it has been going on for a long time, it must be the right thing to do, I just repeat it without questioning it, without thinking whether what was done a few hundred years ago is appropriate even today. I don't apply my mind to it. then how will progress take place? Hmm?
Mm.
So, for progress, we need people who have the courage to differ. If they think something is not right, although it has been done for hundreds of years, I should have the courage to say that I will not do it. Hmm?
Yes.
So, those people are called rebels, isn't it? Yeah. We need rebels in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who are the rebels generally? Young people like you or old people like me?
Young people.
Young people like you. So all progress in the world depends upon rebels. And because rebels are generally young people, all progress in the world depends upon young people like you. Okay. Mm. Anyway, let's go back to this question now. So Kavya had asked her grandfather, have you counted your teeth? He said, no, everybody says everybody has 32 teeth. So I must also be having 32 teeth. And we saw that that's an answer which can be considered good or bad. Now let's see what Kavya thinks about this answer. She says, I think that's not a good answer. I think he should count his teeth to make sure. Sometimes my grandfather also asks me questions. One day he asked me, and that's the question you said everybody asks you a lot. One day he asked me, what would you like to do when you grow up? I like my teacher very much. So I told him I would like to be a teacher. Then he asked me, would you like to be just a teacher or a good teacher? Naturally, I said I would like to be a good teacher. Then he asked me, what is a good teacher? I think my teacher is a good teacher. I started telling my grandfather everything that I like in my teacher. I told him a good teacher looks good. She wears a beautiful dress. She talks sweetly. She loves children. She tells poems. And while telling them, she makes funny actions. And she never says no when a child wants to go to the bathroom. I thought I had said everything. But then my grandfather asked me one more question. He said, tell me all this in one line. How can I say so many things in one line? So I told him, I can't. Please, can you answer your own question? I was not sure if he would be able to do so. He said, a good teacher is a teacher who is also a good person. I think my grandfather can sometimes be very clever. One day, while playing, I fell and hurt my knee. One of my friends picked me up. The teacher said to him, good boy, now take Kavya to the dispensary. In the dispensary, there's a nurse whom everybody calls sister. Sister wiped my tears. She loved me. She washed my wound with soapy water and dried it with cotton. Then she applied some ointment to the wound. Then she tied a bandage on the wound. She did the whole thing so gently, but it hurt a little. She knew it would hurt a little bit, so she loved me and kept talking to me all the time as she did the dressing. When I came back home, my grandfather asked, what happened? I told him everything. Then I said to him, when I grow up, I would like to be a nurse. My grandfather asked me, would you like to be just a nurse or a good nurse? Naturally, I said, I would like to be a good nurse. Then he asked me, what is a good nurse? I said, what would she say?
A good nurse is a good person.
Just a good person, or she also has to be a nurse?
A good nurse.
She has to be a good nurse, she has to be a nurse and a good person. I said, that's exactly what Kavya said. A good nurse is a nurse who is also a good person. My grandfather said, Kavya, you are so clever. One day I asked my mother, I have started thinking hard what I would like to be when I grow up. You are quite grown up, I think. What are you? She said, I was an air hostess. Now I am a stay at home mom, and gave me a hug. I asked her, what is an air hostess? She said, an air hostess serves food to the people traveling on an aeroplane. I asked her, why did you stop being an air hostess? She said, an air hostess may be in Delhi today, tomorrow she may be in Chennai, and the day after in Kolkata, just like your father. After you were born, how could I be with you all the time if I kept traveling like that? I said, if you did that, I would be crying all the time. Thank you so much for becoming a stay at home mom. I asked my mom, when you were an air hostess, did you like it? She said, yes, I liked it very much. I got to see so many new places. I had such a wonderful opportunity to serve. Apart from serving food, if a child on the plane was crying, I could help make him quiet. If a passenger was feeling cold, I could give him a blanket. If a passenger was not feeling well, I helped her find a doctor on the plane. If an old passenger found it difficult to place baggage in the overhead bins, I helped him keep it there. I said, when I grow up, I would also like to be an air hostess. My mother said, or you could become a pilot like your father. I asked her, can women also fly an aeroplane? She said, of course they can. Women can do it just as easily as men. I said, that must be fun. Then I would like to be either an air hostess or a pilot. I ran to my grandfather and told him, Nanu, I'm sorry, I keep changing my mind all the time. I now think I would like to be either an air hostess or a pilot. Before he could say anything, I added, whether I become an air hostess or a pilot, I would be a good air hostess or a good pilot. And I know a good air hostess is an air hostess who is
A good person.
very good. And a good pilot is a pilot who is also a.
Good person.
My grandfather was so happy, he gave me a big hug and kissed my head. One day, I got fever. My mother took me to a doctor. The doctor gave me some medicine. I took the medicine, but still the fever went up at night. My mother called the doctor. He told her to keep a wet piece of cloth on my forehead. Although it was very late at night, the doctor was very nice. He said, if the fever does not come down, please call me again any time of the day or night. My mother dipped a hanky in cold water and put it on my forehead. After some time, the hanky got warm. She dipped it again in cold water and put it on my forehead. Again, the hanky got warm, and she dipped it in cold water and put it on my forehead. This went on for a long time. Finally, the fever came down. I don't think my mother slept that night. The next day, I said to my mother, you must be very tired. You did not sleep the whole night. She said, I'm not tired. I'm so happy your fever came down. Then she hugged me and said, I can do anything for you. I ran to my grandfather and told him, I'm sorry I keep changing my mind all the time, but I can't help it. I now think that when I grow up, I would like to be a stay at home mom. Before he could say anything, I added, I would like to be a good mom. And I know a good mom is a mom who is also a,
Good person.
just like my mom. My grandfather was so happy, he gave me a big hug and kissed my head. I have made up my mind that I do not have to make up my mind about what I do when I grow up. It doesn't really matter what I do, but I must be a good person. So, Kashvi, now you know at least one answer that you can give when somebody asks you
Yes.
when you grow up. What would you say?
I'm not going to waste my time on thinking what I want to do when I grow up, but I know that I'm going to be a good person when I grow up.
Very good.